listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur Podcast. I come to you with quite somber news this week. I am going to be taking a hiatus from the Terrific Teacherpreneur. I know, sob. You might be pretty sad to hear that. I know I'm pretty sad to share. And I just want to do this little episode just to kind of check in with you and tell you what's going on, because deep down, honestly, I get really mad when I follow a podcast, I really love the content, and then they just kind of ghost you. And I totally get it, and I'm going to talk about why that happens, but just the kind of like, you're not really knowing, are they coming back next week? Are they ever going to come back? Is it next month? Like, when's the next episode going to drop? It just kind of annoys me. So I don't want to be that. I want to have you in the know, you know exactly what's going on with the podcast. But yeah, this is what this episode is going to be. And I'll obviously let you know some other ways you can connect with me while I'm having a little bit of a break. But yeah, unfortunately, going to be taking a bit of a pause. So the reason is super simple and very tiny, and it's pretty much Lily, my 6-month-old, is the main reason. I don't know, like I shouldn't blame the poor baby, but it's true. I really have struggled a little bit in trying to balance everything as a business owner since becoming a parent. And if you're listening and you're a parent, then I know you get it. And it sucks that I've had to kind of let things slide, and this is even happening. It's a shame that I can't kind of do it all while being a parent. I would love to be some kind of superhero there, but just the reality is, like I said, if you're a parent, you know, sometimes it's just truly impossible. I was super organized during pregnancy. I knew that having a baby would do this. And so I batched like crazy. And my podcast manager and I worked so hard to prep all these episodes, get them all scheduled out and ready so that when I had a newborn, I didn't just ditch you guys. I had episodes coming out every single week for months on end, which was really awesome. And I, you know, even though from February until now, I've been kind of really time poor, I was able to still show up, and that was awesome. But that eventually ran out because I just couldn't, batch forever. I still managed to do a few months, but I've gotten to that point now where I'm back to just doing content in the week to week and month to month. And it's honestly a bit of a struggle. I just don't have the same time anymore. I have a baby that actually sleeps in her cot now, which is super exciting. And she does, a couple of naps a day or whatever. But these little hours, these little pockets of time are just not enough to run 2 businesses. I highly recommend you just stick to one business if you're listening. If I was just running my store, I think I'd be coping a lot better. But the truth is, I'm trying to run a TPT store and help TPT sellers, and that isn't really truly sustainable. So the reality is something had to go. And I hate to say this, but the podcast has been kind of the thing at the moment that I need a little bit of a break from, because I have to be honest with myself and I have to look at my businesses and I have to kind of acknowledge that Pareto principle. I have to be mindful. Like, I've read the book Essentialism and I mentioned that before. It's a really powerful concept, but you have to spend your time where the money is and where your business really needs to grow. And so for me, that's prioritizing the product creation in my store, optimizing my listings, doing marketing and stuff to maintain my store, because that's obviously where my money comes from, is my store. That's my main source of income. That's the reality of the 80-20 Pareto principle. Like 80% of my income obviously comes from my store kind of thing. So it would be silly of me to spend all of these little tiny precious amounts of time I have not working on my store. And I'm sure you can understand that, because if you're listening to this, you have your own store and you get it. So I have chosen that I really want to prioritize my store. And if I get little bits of time extra, I obviously want to be able to be in my Facebook group and on Instagram helping sellers. I definitely think I can manage that. I can sit on my phone and do those things while I'm breastfeeding and stuff. That's great. But I'm not quite able at this point to take on all the other stuff that comes with having a podcast and an email list and all the things that go with it. And so for now, I'm going to be taking a little hiatus. So there won't be any podcast episodes during September. I'm not going to be recording any. And as I'm having September off, that also means I won't be planning any for October. So if you're listening to this as I'm releasing this, in the coming month or two, you really are, it's going to be pretty quiet, and I'm not going to be recording any episodes or releasing any. And then I'm going to see how I feel as October comes around. Am I feeling motivated and inspired and I want to get back into it for the last few months of the year? Or am I just going to continue my hiatus for a little bit longer for the rest of the year? I hope it doesn't get to that, but that may be a possibility, and I want to give you that heads up. The truth is, it's not just about being time poor. Obviously, that is the main thing. I have been doing this podcast for quite a while, And, you do start off a lot more gung-ho with lots of ideas and lots of motivation, and it kind of ebbs and flows as you go. But at the moment, I'm obviously in a little bit of a rut in terms of not feeling that super motivated about the podcast. And so at the moment, I've got a little bit of resentment too. I'll be honest with you that I'm so short on time that I resent if something's taking up large amounts of my time and energy, but it isn't actually a big part of my business and profit making. I'm going to be honest with you. I like to be upfront about these things. I don't know why we should all be secretive about this kind of stuff. Like, that's the reality. This podcast has always been very much a passion project for me. It's like a labor of love. It's not something that I, make money from. I just sit here and record hours and hours of content because I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy chatting to you guys. It feels like I'm connecting with a community. And I really love sharing tips. It's a huge, just fun part of my business I've always loved. But unfortunately, passion project kind of hobby side of my business isn't obviously the thing that pays my bills. It's just more of my fun thing. So it isn't really sustainable as a thing that I can keep and prioritize. You know what I mean? I can't prioritize the podcast and ditch my store. It just doesn't really work like that. I have talked about this on my Instagram stories in the last few weeks. So many of you already know this kind of stuff I'm sharing. But for those of you that aren't on social media, I wanted to kind of share that with you, a little bit of a backstory. But the reality is, having a podcast is a lot of work, a huge amount of time investment in terms of recording episodes and all the marketing that goes with it. And it's also a costly thing too, hiring someone to edit it or things like that. And even hosting it on a platform, it will cost money. And as you know, if you've been listening, I'm not someone that has loads of ads and money-making things. I'm not always plugging things all the time. So it isn't something that I get loads of income from. Obviously, people do listen to this and then they, join my courses and things, but that's not always the case. And I'd say most people, tend to find me through my Facebook group and Instagram and join my courses from there. So I wanted to share that too, that it's not, automatically this big money-making thing for me. It really is just something I enjoy doing. So I need a little bit of a break, if I'm honest, just so that I can focus my small amounts of time on things that make me the money and have a little bit of a break just to give myself a refresh too. I think it will motivate me to get back into it. Like, I feel that kind of motivation and excitement to get back into it after having a break, which is always true in anything in business. It'll give me some time as well, to get inspired with new ideas and things like that too. So yeah, definitely is needed. I wanted to share that little backstory on a little bit of why I've been pressing pause for a while. I want you to understand. I did contemplate continuing through this little bit of a rut and just finding ways to make it more profitable. Like, could I do more ads and things? But I'm just not sure that really feels right for me. If I do come back to the podcast in the coming months, I may have to find some way to increase revenue a little bit. And I hope that you'd be okay with that. Many of you on Instagram said that you would be okay with that and you understand. But I'm just not one of those people that could just, talk for hours and hours and hours about money-making things and put loads and loads of ads in. That's just not something that feels right to me. So I have got to look into that and see how I'd feel about it. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And I also wanted to share a few other things while I'm here. In this little break I'm taking, it doesn't mean that you can't learn from me. The beauty of it is I have a catalogue of hundreds of episodes. So you can obviously go back and listen to my older episodes. If you are a newer listener and you haven't listened to them all, then I'm sure you've got plenty that you can go and listen to, and that will sustain you for quite a while. And even if you are a hardcore Terrific Teacherpreneur listener and you listen to every single episode, I bet you there are episodes you could go back and re-listen to. And it sounds crazy because it's my own podcast, but I've done that before. There's like a topic that I feel like I'm just really struggling with or something, and I'll go back and listen to an episode where I've interviewed a guest and we're talking about a certain marketing platform. And I'll listen to it again and it's all fresh to me because I don't remember what I said 2 years ago. I mean, you probably don't either. So don't feel bad if you're I'm really struggling with a certain area of business right now. I just need that motivation to get back into it. And if you need a few more tips, go back and listen to my old episodes. If it's something like email marketing, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever. I've got loads of old episodes, I think, that, are all still relevant now. The tips will be relevant. And just go back and have a little listen and refresh yourself. I think that would be really good. You can do that for a little while to keep you going. And of course, podcast aside, doesn't mean that I will be disappearing completely. I will probably not be emailing much if you're on my email list, but I will still be around in the Facebook group, keeping an eye on it, making a few posts, chatting to people. So, you can always kind of connect with me in there. The Terrific Teacherpreneur Facebook group. I'll put a link in the show notes. I know that many of you are probably already in the group, but if you're listening and you aren't, be sure to join it. And of course, Instagram. So my Instagram is @TerrificSellingTactics, and I'll put a link to that as well. Connect with me on that. I mean, despite this little break I'm going to be taking, I'm still going to be hopping on stories every day. I might still put out a few little reels or posts here and there, but I also think I might scale back on that if I'm honest. But definitely in terms of stories, you can still, keep an eye on what's going on with me and Lily and what we're doing. And I still obviously will be sharing TPT tips as they come to me when I'm working on my own store. I'll be like, hey, don't forget to do this. I share a lot of tips on my stories. So, you can connect with me there. You won't feel like I'm disappearing. And of course, if you are struggling with any certain areas like Pinterest, email marketing, or TPT in general, I do have my 3 courses and they're open at the moment. So you could always join those and learn from me that way. They won't be staying all 3 of them open indefinitely though. So, keep an eye on that. You don't want to miss that boat. If I close any in the coming weeks or months, I have that planned. But for now, they are open as of August 2023. So you could certainly have a look and see if any of those interest you, because that would be a way to connect with me through the Facebook groups attached to the courses, or just to learn from me in that way as well. So that's always an option. But I'm going to wrap this episode up. I am sorry that I am going on a little hiatus. I know it's kind of sad, and especially if you really enjoy listening to podcasts. I really hate that I've had to do this, but I hope that you understand a little bit now. I've given you this backstory on the little bit of the struggle I'm feeling in terms of being time poor and having to prioritize my own store. And I'm sure you can respect that as a seller yourself. That's just the way it is. And I really hope I can get back into it in the coming months. I think I just need a little bit of a break, and I hope you understand. And in the meantime, of course, there are other amazing TPT podcasts out there that you can listen to. The 2 that I personally recommend as of end of 2023 that I currently listen to, The Savvy Teacher Seller by Kristen Doyle and Rebranded Teacher by Lauren Fulton. Those are my 2 current faves. They are amazing. Obviously, I think the Terrific Teacherpreneur is the best. I'm a little bit biased. But in terms of if I were a seller and I had to listen to other podcasts, what would I listen to? Those 2, hands down. They are full of really practical, actionable tips, like no fluff, just really helpful stuff. And I love them. As an established seller, I still learn so much from listening to podcasts. And honestly, those are the 2 I've been drawn to the most lately, because I know that they're always consistent and there's lots of episodes. I also love School of Sellers though, when they kind of come and go a bit, but check them out too. And I used to, if you're looking at like a backlog of episodes kind of thing, the Not So Entrepreneur podcast is great too, although I don't think she records anymore. But those are the ones I've kind of always listened to and loved. There are other ones out in the space as well. Some of them are amazing. Some of them I haven't, had the time to check out. But yeah, I just think it's really important to find ones where you connect with the people who are recording them. People that are going to give you lots of actionable tips is always really helpful. I know it seems really crazy to send you off to another podcast, but some of the people that make these podcasts are really kind, sweet, lovely people. And I think they make great content. So I'm not going to be not going to, not tell you about them, because my goal here is to always help you grow your business. So I don't mind if you learn from someone else, because I care about you succeeding. That's the reason I do this, is to help you. It's always been my motive. I think that's why I've always found it so fun and enjoyable, because there's not like some kind of malicious thing going on here where I need you to join my courses, whatever. I don't really mind if you don't. And so many people just listen to my podcast and they just enjoy the free content, and that's okay. That's why I created this, was to help people for free, to give people tips and advice, especially if you're a newer seller and you can't afford courses and coaching and masterminds and memberships and things. I'm always looking back at my roots and where I started as a seller and my financial struggles I had years ago. And I remember what it's like. And I'm really passionate about affordability and being able to access things, accessibility. This was always something that's been really important to me. That's why I've really tried to keep, when I do offer things that are paid, like courses, we'll try to keep them as cheap as I can. I'm always trying to offer as much as I can for free, because I really do care about people being able to learn and people being able to access the content. You shouldn't just have to be able to afford it, kind of thing. And so yeah, I really hope that all of these older episodes I've got, all this free content, is enough to help you. And like I said, I don't mind if you want to learn from me or someone else, or you want to be learning for free or paid or whatever. I don't care. I just want you to succeed. That's what I truly care about. One of my favorite things about this business has been connecting with other sellers and helping them grow. It means a lot to me when you send me messages on Instagram or in the Facebook group and you say that you love the podcast, or you love my courses, or you love my Instagram posts, whatever. I just love it. Lights me up. And I'm going to have to stop talking now before I start getting too sappy. But I hope this episode's helped, and I hope that you appreciate my transparency, my honesty. I really do try to be as upfront as I can be. Most people would never record an episode like this, but I just wanted to tell you what's going on, and I want you to understand the realities of these things. And I don't know, it makes me feel like we are, and I feel like a lot of sellers, I feel like I'm almost like online friends with. You guys don't feel like strangers to me or people across the sea. You feel like teacher friends and seller friends. And this is how I would talk to a friend. So yeah, telling all. I'm a bit of a blabbermouth. I probably shouldn't be saying any of this stuff. Like, why am I telling you to, not buy courses or like listen to other podcasts? Like I tell you that I'm not recording, I'm taking a break because I'm struggling with time, or it's a cost, or it's not making me money, or like these are like real truths that most people would never say. But I'm just not that kind of person. I just like to tell all. And I hope that's why you probably enjoy this podcast if you have been listening and follow me on stories, because I will just say it. Yeah, I will. Anyway, okay. I said I was going to wrap this up like 3 times and I haven't already. So I'm going to. This is a little bit of a goodbye for now. And I'm really hoping that I will be back soon. I would say have a terrific day, but this is going to be the last you might hear from me for a little while. So have a terrific couple of weeks, couple of months, if that's what it ends up being. And I hope you do have a terrific time of it. Yeah, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.